So feel free to, ask questions, or if you don't want to interrupt, you can write your question and ask at the end. And any question goes to help you understand. You're all starting as a freshman or a graduating senior we have, and you're just a beginning in your life, and some of you are sophomore, juniors. I have to give you the professional experience of what I have been through, where I come from, and what type of work I did. So this is the university where I graduated from with a bachelor's and master's. So one student. So this is where it started. I talked to Sanjay, asked what he wants. Sahib, help Sanjay if he has any question.
Okay.
So this is where I started my bachelor's in agriculture, like 1978. It's long before you were all born, possibly. And so the type of education I got to was very much experiential. Okay, so some of you heard the word experiential learning, as if they found something new technique of learning. And so this was founded by a chancellor when I started, and who did his PhD in the US under the scientist who discovered penicillin. And Selman Waxman or someone like that from California, then he was conducting the whole program. So I had a trimester system, not a semester system, and quizzes and exam, and very similar to what you're going through, the 4.0 GPA system. I'm talking 1974 to 1978, okay, that time period. And there were no personal computers at that time. And so when I did this research, this university was established in 1905, or little before 1905 by British people, and it has gone like a 105 years of let me, I don't know why it's jumping the slide. It should not do that. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so this was in 1906. It started as Agricultural Research Institute and became the university in 1971. And the campus is about 2.5 times of UT Austin campus, and less than 1/10 of the student population. Imagine that. Because a lot of things are agriculture research and research fields and everything all included in that campus. And but they also had other, just like a system, UT system. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, let me make sure that they are able to see that. Let me escape for now. Yeah, I'm trying to share again. I just closed this share, and let me reshare it with you so that you can follow what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. Do you see the second slide now? Is it moving? Do they say yes or no?
We see the college slide.
Are you still stuck in the first one?
No, we see
No,
the
we
second
can
one.
see it.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. Feel free, speak up. I'm listening and I can hear you well, okay? Or put it in the text, one of us will tell you. So this has a big system, and the beauty of this campus is that this is one of the few places in the world where the sugarcane will flower and set seeds. Many places it won't flower and set seed because of the freezing weather condition. And so this is where they established, as I said, you can see the British style building. And so they do that. So all that when I did, we have to be involved. 7 a.m. we get up, we go to the field and we do a field lab. And then classes start at about 9 or so. And then we have a break at 10:30, like a tea break. We all have a break and then come back and we have a lunch and then afternoon class, then a coffee break again, and then a dinner. So it's very intensive. 95% of the students are residential students, so like myself. Okay. So after I graduated, at this place, literally exactly, I was kind of lying down, facing the sky as the crossroads at 1978, what am I going to do with my life? Yeah. So just like many of you wonder in a crossroad, what am I going to do? And so I had several options, going to continue my master's and PhD, or go to industry or go to government job. There are a few limited options. And I decided, I love studying and learning so much. I can literally live in the library if they had a bathroom and a kitchen. I could spend all the time in there. So I kind of found that. And also I'm at ease in natural surroundings like botanical gardens or field. And so as a high school student itself, I found that passion. I didn't like hospital smell. I cannot stand blood. So becoming a doctor is not an option for me. So I decided, okay, but I studied in the paddy fields. My house is surrounded by paddy fields. And so I sit under the tree or on the tree to study. So, I can't fall asleep when I sit on the tree. So, so that is how I kind of grew up. And then, so it was a natural fit for me. Then I wanted to study more. So I did a national merit scholarship type exam that all over India, we had to compete for a master's scholarship. And so I did get the scholarship. I got like 3rd rank in the country or something like that. So I finished master's in agronomy. I finished in 1990. Then I had to go get a job, and I applied for just one job. I didn't bother with any other thing. I did have an offer to do PhD in India right after my master's, the full scholarship, but I decided not to do that because my goal was to come to the US to do PhD. And I said, at that time itself, I was wondering why, India is so big and so many people cannot discover new things, new pesticide, new herbicide, or new drugs like that. Then it motivated me looking at that the quality of education is still the best in the US. Take anywhere in the world, especially at the college level, at the university level, it's still true. And so the first job I got was up with the Monsanto Chemicals of India, and worked as a product development executive. It's like I had to drive around the 4 states of India. So I was in charge of all these 4 states, and all I was given is a motorbike. I don't know any of you know a 350cc Royal Enfield motorbike. So that was, and I had a backpack sprayer, and I all packed and just ready to go on the road. And I didn't know how to ride a motorbike. All I knew how to ride a bicycle. And I learned to ride a bicycle myself. Nobody taught me how to ride a bicycle. I'll fall, get on, I fall, get up, and keep going like that. That's how I learned. That's how I learned swimming. Once I drowned in a river, I learned swimming in a river. I know somebody was there, fortunately, pulled me up. I was a middle school kid, and I was the only son. My mother gets worried about it. I have 2 sisters. So it was all experiential learning. Sink or swim. So yeah, I had to do that. I was the oldest grandson in the family. my older sister is there, but oldest grandson. I have 32 first cousins. And so nobody there above me to teach me. And my dad was very busy with his work. A very good man, very good person, caring, loving, but he was busy with his work. So I had to learn these things as I go. So I learned the bicycle, and then somebody helped me drive a car. That's something I couldn't drive with myself. So to drive a car, somebody else taught me, and on a parking lot in India. So this is where I started my career, and it was in a very small village here. Okay, that's where I started, and the village has no bus station, no train station, no airport. So the bus will stop on the main street, and there are just two streets, like Pleasantville, if any of you have seen it. Just like that, it's a main street, and everything else is other streets. So I started there, and then I was traveling all around. And so the purpose was to do experiments in the field to conduct herbicides and so on. And the particular herbicide was called acetonilide. This is a machete. Okay, so then I had to evaluate the efficacy, and then dose optimization, the different soil condition, how the herbicide worked or didn't work, and so on. And I provided technical support to the sales executive team. Okay, so you can see the this is an annual report. You can see all my colleagues, and one of the first colleague was Sukhcharan Singh Budwal. So he was working with me, and he had a PhD, and I had a master's. And people, with a higher degree normally don't listen well to someone with a lower degree. In India, that's a cultural thing. So I had to get a PhD. But I said, I'm not going to do that at that time. So I continued on. So every year, we make a presentation to the team from Singapore and the US. Monsanto was based in St. Louis. The company is no more. Bayer bought it. Okay. So when I was giving a presentation, so I was going over time, like 15 minutes they gave me. I was, my slide was probably going 5 minutes more. And they said, no, time is up, stop. I looked at them. I was young and brave, kind of whatever. I have worked for 1 year on the field. Won't you guys give me a few more minutes to complete my presentation? And everybody said, what? This guy is the new kid on the block, and he's asking this. Okay, go for it. Then I finished my presentation, just clear as a whistle, and I said, this is the problem that you find, this is the solution. Then after that talk, this was in Goa. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the place. This is right here in the west coast of India. That's where Portuguese settled down. That is the first occupation colony of Portugal. And so my boss, he took me to the beach. He said, I want, have a walk with me. So I was just walking with him on the beach, and he said, would you like to go to Singapore? I said, what? I never thought about it. I never expected it. And this is my third year in working for Monsanto in India. And I think he got impressed with the presentation and the kind of work that I did. So every communication skill is important. And I said, my mom said, oh, you go to Singapore, you're going to go to USA from there, and you will never come back to India, and all that usual thing. Mom, that's what happened. That's what I want to do. I will go to Singapore. So I did, and it happened like my mom predicted. And I never went back to India. So the lesson is that any opportunity that you do, any work that you do it with your full heart and a passion. Don't say, oh, nobody's watching, so I can go up. Not at all. There are people watching you. Online, offline, in person, and all that makes a big difference. Okay, so you have to kind of give your best in anything you do. Anything worth doing is worth doing well. Otherwise, don't do it. Whether it's research or a job or work or chore, it's just a lesson I learned. So this is when I got married. And within a week of marriage, I had to go to Singapore. It's a new life, new wife, new place, and a new job. So it was a lot of excitement and a lot of challenges. So I had to overcome. And so in Singapore, I was there between 83 to 85. I was a product development, manager for Southeast Asia and for that particular herbicide. My boss who recruited me there was Dr. Rich Schumacher, and I'll never forget him. He's from St. Louis. And so he was the one also who brought me to the US. So he got me full ride scholarship at LSU. So I finished there and I came over here. Okay. So there's 6 countries from India to Thailand, and it included Pakistan, but India, Pakistan were not in good terms, so I didn't get to go there or bother with what they didn't have a lot of business in Pakistan, so we didn't bother that. But I traveled all the other countries listed here and visited and helped that product development people there, and analyze the product development experiment. That is the time personal computers were coming. Okay, and when I did my master's research, I had to use a punch card system. Anyone heard of punch card system? It's an analog computer, analog, digital, whatever you may call it. But each punch card is like a Scantron paper. So you have to punch holes in them for zeros and ones. And then you feed it into the computer will read. The computer was like the size of this board and up to this, the whole thing. They will feed that card into the computer. It will analyze the data. That's how I did my master's research. So in 84, 83 is where the personal computers were coming along, and I set up a database for the company. And then I participated in international and national meetings. And then that's when I applied to the US universities for a PhD. Okay. And I got admitted to LSU and Nebraska, a few other universities. I decided to go to LSU because they gave me a full scholarship. I didn't have to even TA. All I had to do my research work and get paid for it. It's like, getting money for eating candy. So I went there, and also I wanted a warmer place. I couldn't survive in Nebraska, or my boss told me at that time. I had a different boss, Russ Schneider. He said, you'll be frozen to death. You go to Nebraska. So coming from tropical country like India or Singapore, he said no. So this is where my LSU life. My daughter was 5 months old at that time, and so this is my wife. And the way they looked at that time, and this is me in the office in Monsanto. It's not it's in Singapore, and I used to work in one of those high rises. This is totally different now. This is a picture now. Singapore is triple in size and doubled in population. It's a phenomenal place to be, and I'm taking a group of students this summer. Hope all goes well with COVID stuff. And I will be there about global sustainability. That's a topic that we are going to be covering there. Okay. Then we moved to US, LSU, and that's in Field Station I was working. So my first professor was Lynn Kitchen, and he had to leave the university. He's right there. He's a man from San Antonio, very good person. And all these are my colleagues at LSU. We're doing Field Station, try to drive a tractor. And so I learned a motorbike first, car, then tractor. So we had to do field experiments, and I got to visit fields and cut sugar cane. And, he said, that's why, you get into this, you should know how to cut a mustard. That's what it's called. There's cutting a mustard is hard. There are spines and all that. And cutting sugar cane is even harder. So we had to go conduct experiments in the field. And then after 2 years he left, I joined the professor, Dr. Norimoto Murai, and he was the one who introduced me to molecular biology and biochemistry, because I had to shift my focus from agriculture, agronomy into molecular biology, biochemistry in Dr. Mirai's lab. He's from Japan and very good, kind, caring man, very tough taskmaster. Okay. And recently he passed away. I miss him a lot, but he was the one who really groomed me for what I'm doing now. And every Monday morning, 8 a.m. is the lab meeting. So we pack lunch. We work 8 to 6 every day. We go for dinner. 6 to 8 is a dinner. Come back to the lab. 8 to 11, we had to work. He will be there. So he had a ponytail and he ride a bike, and that was a life where I totally changed to molecular biology and biochemistry. It's called plant health. It's a plant molecular biology. So I did, completed the PhD there, and I cloned a gene for herbicide resistance from Rabbitopsis thaliana. It's a model system, and it's a 1-point mutation made the plant 100 times more resistant to herbicide. So American cyanamide company licensed it. I got 2 patents out of that. And I was a different student than others because of my experience with Monsanto. And I looked at things differently in an applied way than other students. And when I did this research, the company American Cyanamide came and said to me, "Oh, why are you wasting your time? We have millions of dollars in the company, and we'll figure it out." But they were the first one in line to license my mutant to clone and express in other crops. So, and one of my committee members said, don't bother with them. They're trying to dissuade you from doing the research. Just go for it. So I had to sequence this in 3 months, 3 kilobase pairs. I had to sequence in 3 months. At that time, we don't have fancy materials like now. You can just order 1-800 number, your sequencing gel will show up, so long as you have money to buy that. We had to make the sequencing gel ourselves. So I got to buy glass and go to a glass, plexiglass, and make them cut it, and we got to glue it together and assemble it. And power supply, 2000 volts power supply. It has to withstand all that. So it was from scratch, made from scratch. Everything, we had to figure it out, okay? And but he was there to guide, and Dr. Murai was the first one to transform a plant by agrobacterium. He had a paper in Science. He was the first one to create a genetically modified plant from University of Wisconsin-Madison. And so this was my daughter learning to walk near the Mike, the tiger cage. So she was 5 months old when I got in, and she was 5 years old when we left LSU. Okay. So she has a master's in public health. She's a UT Austin graduate in English and biology. Then she went to Emory University, got a master's in public health. So she works for Texas Health Institute as a communication director. And this is my son was born at that time. And
Dr. Sada.
Monica, do you see this slide?
The slides have been frozen, so we're still stuck on
okay.
University one.
So let me, I don't know if there's a refresh option here. So I, yeah, refresh. Oh, show the desktop instead of, so, okay, let me try that. And so I'm changing to desktop mode. All right, do you see everything now?
Yes, we can see your desktop now.
Okay, good, good. You see all the slide images?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you for asking. So except that, you see the view mode, right? Not my laptop mode.
Yes, we can see the view mode.
Okay, cool. So we already went through this. So that's my son, Sarathi, and he graduated from UT Austin, electrical and computer engineering, National Merit Scholar, had a full ride. And he worked for Cisco for 3 years. Then he developed SquareCap. Some of you have heard of used SquareCap. So he is this current CEO, CTO of SquareCap, runs it, and he's happy. And all that is, you do what you love to do. Now, he was kind of making half of what he did in Cisco, but he's happy in contributing, and he's helped more than 100,000 students so far. And more than 2,000 professors have used it in about 30 plus universities. So what started at UT just scaled up well. So it's all into application mode. Then at UT, beyond that, that's when I left LSU in 1990, August. Then I drove to UT and a small car. I don't know if you know a car called Chevy Chevette. Have you heard of that? It's like a Geo Metro, Geo Metro? It's like a small Beetle car, kind of smaller than the Beetle. So that's all I could afford to buy for $1,500. I got the car with 2,500 miles on it. So it lasted for 5 years, and we drove, and we had a U-Haul, and it was just pouring heavy on the way from Baton Rouge to Austin. But on Highway 71 we are listening to KUT radio. It's just so beautiful. And we could see the skylights of Austin. It was only a small town of 400,000 people. Now it's more than 2 million people in Austin, and it's still getting bigger, okay? So I started working in Dr. Mehdi's lab. So at that time, I had a few options. One, go back to India. I had a job waiting for me in India as a product development manager for the country. And I was offered in Monsanto, St. Louis as a postdoc. And I also got an offer from UC Berkeley in Plant Gene Expression Center in Oakland, near Berkeley, affiliated Berkeley, at a USDA lab, and one more in A&M. Who want to go to A&M? But so I didn't want to go to cold places. I didn't want to go to California, which is very expensive for a postdoc salary to live with 2 kids. And so I liked the project Dr. Mehdi was doing. It's a plant disease resistant. It's an applied field. So that's where I came. And I didn't, because I committed to Dr. Mehdi's lab, I couldn't accept Monsanto offer back in St. Louis. So it all worked out well, and no regrets. It just was a great decision we made. Because you have to look at that time, you're all starting as young, but at that time I had a family and 2 kids. I had to put a lot of factors in my head as to cost of living and cultural settings, safety, weather, all that is important. And we started and also published a paper in PNAS at that time. I got 2 papers before in plant physics and nucleic acid research. Then I started teaching the first one, fall 92. On Bio 302. Bio 311C used to be called Bio 302, cell and molecular biology. And I did that at a first class Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. at 212 students. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a blast. So I was more energized after the class than before the class. So it's all, So I thought, okay, teaching could be a good career, and I didn't apply to any tenure track research positions because this was fun. But I was also fortunate to be able to do research and teach, just like a tenure track. So I'm not required to do research, even now. This is all extra work I'm doing because I love what I do. And this is a thing that you will learn and you experience as you do. Okay, so that is where it has to mean something to you. And first time I got a co-PI, co-principal investigator with DOE, Department of Energy. Then that's when I started training undergrads and high school students in independent research. It's come a long way. FRI is all new. I have started doing this since 1991, 92 is when I started doing this. And more than 100 students have gone through me and a few grad students. Then I started teaching lab studies in molecular biology for undergraduate research projects. The whole course was structured as a research. So they clone a gene, unknown, sequence it, they publish the sequence in GenBank and write a paper about it. That's the course. So that's how I conducted the whole thing. And so all these things are all totally experiential. Okay. So one other thing I didn't mention before in my undergraduate, besides the curricular experience, we were given two projects I did called Earn While You Learn. I'm talking 1974 to 78. So we were, I have a group of students, about 4 or 5 students, were given 300 broiler chicks and a chicken coop. So it's a small house, like maybe 20 by 20 and all covered, everything. So we had to, they all came in a boxes, so cute and fussy and, so we had to raise those chicks, give them feed, give them medicine, give them whatever we need to do, water them and take care of them for 3 months. They become pretty fast, pretty big. Then I got to write all the accounts of what I spent, what I did and everything. And then we had to process them. That's the only part I didn't bother me at that time, but I wouldn't do it now. We had to literally chop all their heads and bleed them and take it to the market after removing their feathers and sell the broiler chicken and return the expense I got from the university back to them and keep the rest of the money to me. It was, I thought, okay, it was fun at that time when I did, but that was a real experience. And the same way we did, that's the first time I earned something on my own and I bought a bicycle with it. That's my first bike. And the books, whatever I liked. And then the next project was they gave me about 2,000 square feet of land where we had to grow paddy from seedling all the way to the harvest the grain, just by myself, no labor supply. And then whatever money comes out of selling that grain, we keep it minus expense. So this is, nobody there, no, my professor won't come, oh, this is a problem, you do this or do that. No, I got to figure it out myself. There will be some guidance, but mostly, that is what it prompted me to do this type of research, to develop heat-tolerant tomato plants. And then that was the last time I never bothered about promotion or anything, but we started doing this all these way ago. So we developed the seeds, we gave it to a natural gardener in Austin, asked them to sell it. So, it was an open pollinated variety or something. This is the hydroponic, the team sitting here, want to raise your hand. So they have been doing, Catherine, Brian, and Kabir, and we also have others online, Sahib, and, Sanjay is another team member in solar energy. And so they have been working on this before, okay? So the next big thing that happened in terms of research is got a grant from Department of Defense. DARPA stands for Defense Advanced Research Project Agency for about $25 million. And so $2.5 million came to UT and the rest for the industry. And we had only half the money. In 1 year, we finished the project. It's like 2 years. And I had to coordinate, and I was a lead PI on this. It's still there on the CNS website. And this is where my sustainability research started. Next building in biology is where the algal culture collection is. It's one of the largest culture collection in the world or in the nation. Is here. Many of you just walk by the turtle pond and look at the lilies and turtles, but you don't know that one of the world's class algal culture there. And Dr. Jerry Brand was the director, not anymore. And the herbarium in Life Science Library is also one of the largest in the nation, herbarium collection. There are some other things they don't tell you. They tell you, here's a football field, here's a basketball field, here's the union and all that. But these are other resources that you have to use. Then what is this project about? So we are to screen cultures around Texas. We collected in the field and we have to develop jet fuel from algae. And we did it. So with all that screening, we had selected strains which have 75% oil. Corn will have about 15, 20%. And canola seed, again, 30, 40% maximum. But the algae has a lot higher oil, and it just replicates in every 30 days. Okay, yeah, no, 3 days they replicate. Whereas the Arabidopsis is 30 days, corn 3 months, and so on. So this is all optimization work we did, and a lot of undergrad students did this work, few grad students, and then engineers and biologists were all involved in this research. This is a part of my team. Most of all undergrad, they're all engineers and doctors and PhD scientists now. Different people in different places. You need to think like as a career, and all these people, they work in the lab, in the field, in the greenhouse. So it is not one thing. And so the bottom line is, before I transition, you should be genuinely interested. That's the reason I wrote a long email. Some of you that, what is this? He's writing. And it's a reality. You're not passionate about anything, even as simple as doing you may be a grocer in HEB checkout line or a Starbucks, but you have to enjoy the ride. Otherwise, just quit and move on to something else. So it has to mean something to you beyond, whatever you're learning from or yearning from. The next thing, we did the course transformation project. It's about $500,000 project from university. And that is where we started changing the way we educate. And, all these people talking about online class and Zoom, and some of the faculty were all freaking out, like, how do I teach online? And, that we have done that about 12 years ago. And we figured it all out. We had all these video lessons and everything long before others were just trying to figure out, okay? And then, we wrapped it up. This is also a teamwork. And at that time, I visited Harvard University and MIT and understand how they teach their students. So they had a classroom of 500 students sitting in an intro biology class, and every seat was wired with a microphone. They were listening in on what the students were talking. It was creepy, but I wouldn't want to do that. And then they mapped out the entire seat, and then they say, oh, somebody, John Doe sitting on that place doesn't understand. Okay. So Jose Vargas here doesn't understand. So they could figure out and help them. So it was nicely done software. I'm talking 2011, 2012 time period, 20 years ago. Then we came back and I asked them, hey, can you license this to us? We want to try it at UT. It was at a high level, provost of UT talking to provost of Harvard University or the professors like that. But we didn't get any reply, and they didn't want a license because they were selling it to Pearson as a learning catalytics. I don't know, any of you heard or used learning catalytics? Yeah, it's bundled and nobody used it. So, okay, you don't want to give? All right, I asked one of my staff member at that time, his name is Wu Tran, and excellent, brilliant student. And he was working as a staff for me. Said, can you develop this, Wu? And it took him 3 months to develop what Harvard did it, probably in $3 million in 3 years. And so we had this software, we called it VTrack, virtual tracking system, something like that. Had the same capability. I could tell the student who sitting where, having difficulty. But the problem with that was it was not scalable. It was just limited to my class, in one class, and he was doing everything that as a teacher, I cannot monitor, develop it. Then I asked, would you mind, I asked the university, can you fund us more to develop this further? They said, it's a nice idea, see you later. Then I said, that is the time I won the Regents Teaching Award, Board of Regents. That's at the state level. And they gave me 25 grand at the teaching award. It's a highest I ever got. And I put that money in. And my son was working for Cisco at the time. I got a meeting with my son and him, and who said, oh, it's I don't want to share. It's fine, keep it with you. And I asked my son to develop it. In the evenings and weekends, he worked a scalable system. It took him, as a second gig, 1 year to develop a scalable system. That is where SquareCap was born. So the reason I'm sharing all these with you, you may be kind of a lowly lecturer or a teacher in the institution, or don't have much fun, but you can do things. I was a poor graduate student. I was fighting with a multinational corporation to beat them on a technology invention or a genetically modified crop. So if sometimes you will feel like a David versus Goliath thing, but you also heard of the tortoise and the rabbit story, or a hare, and you have to be diligent, planned, executed, deliver it. That's where you make a difference. Who thought, somebody like a guy called Steve Jobs and Wozniak in their garage, they're tinkering with some machine, it's $1 trillion company now. You don't realize, you see these massive buildings in the downtown Austin, if you have been to downtown Austin, or any buildings on UT campus, or you've seen this big airplane. All these things were an idea in somebody's head once upon a time. It was an idea. Then you give life to that idea. So that is all, it takes time. So we developed it. It is about 2013 is when we founded the company. We bootstrapped it. We had an angel investor. As I said, it's the 8th year, and it is running smooth, and we are used by several universities, and we keep it simple. This is all. I want to quickly go through this, and the reason you're already familiar with all these is why I did this. At that time, at 2010, when I did this course transformation project, the graduation rate at the University of Texas at Austin was 52%. 1 out of every 2 students sitting in my class as a freshman won't graduate. That was heartbreaking. Why you select the top 5% of the state and the brightest of the bright kids, and you let half them drop out or not get a degree? It's not acceptable. So that's the reason my son, he named it SquareCap. That's a graduation cap, that every student deserves a SquareCap. That's the reason we did it. So I see a problem, work on it, try to solve it. So that's the purpose that I'm going through all these things with you. So we finished it, and all the seat map, everything there. Okay, this is again what my hobbies are. I help Austin Hindu Temple as a wildlife habitat manager there, and I started a community organization. And all these I have over 75 species of plants in my garden, not counting the varieties. Okay, so this is one, and I see an onion sprouting, just put it in water. That's the hydroponic onion. It is not going to grow, but I got to put it in the ground. It will withstand freeze. Single-digit temperature. I still have a lot of onion in the yard. So this is a sample kitchen hydroponic. It's something you like to do, just get it done. Because that's how, what my advice to you all? So be passionate about whatever you do. You want to be a doctor, veterinarian, HEB manager, whatever you want to do, you be passionate, and you learn from others. Don't think I know it all, I can figure this out. It's not going to get you too far. So there's a saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So there's a reason, you want to learn how to do that. And it's okay. Many times people said, oh, it's too difficult for you. You can't do this. And I don't argue with them. I just make up my mind. I analyze the pros and cons and I do it. If I fail, I fail. I learn from that. If I succeed, I succeed. So you need to have that attitude. That's why be resilient and be open and build on things and consistently. So every day is something you're learning and be productive that way. Okay. So, this is, you might have seen as a kid, riding in your parents' car, mom, dad, when will you be there? And, so now you all have every kid has an iPad and you play with it. You don't even ask that question. Why are we stopping now? So it's a different thing. But in life, I'm talking about, it can be your undergraduate days or graduate days or job. You have to enjoy the ride. And then process will be pleasant and you'll be more productive. Okay, so that's it. This is what I'm going to be doing this summer. And it's all sustainability. We are talking about land, water, and energy. And that's where I'll be taking them. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. So that's kind of the reason for going through this. I may have told you briefly, someplace what I do or what I did, but I'm giving you with the perspective as to what kind of a journey I have been and what type of things I have learned I can share with you and my expectations also for you. Okay.